Buon pomeriggio. Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. And this is the fourth program of Series 2 for Italian. Today is Friday, the 1st of December 2023. And this is program number 64. The end of the year seems close, one more month. And this is the month for Christmas, so not today, but from next time I see you, we'll concentrate on featuring some of the Christmas, some of the Christmas stories, etc. This second series of Italian is proving to be quite a bit of a challenge because I'm actually enjoying it so much. I don't have to explain the grammar. I don't have to, I sort of pick up what is interesting to me and to you, hopefully. There are quite a few people coming on after I finish, which is good, and a few people do come on when I'm on. But can I say this, with my live work, you need to get to know how the program actually works better for yourself. But I'll get there eventually, slowly but surely. We're getting to it. Today, it's a bit of a mix, like I've done last week and the week before. And I think there is a bit of Italy here from the past and the present, and hopefully in the future as well, because I encourage you to not only listen to Italian, but also to read it aloud, and then to write it. Write short sentences, and eventually a paragraph, and eventually a letter or a little story, whatever. So finalmente poi si arriva alla parte dove dovremmo parlare in italiano, e quello è importante, però con il parlare italiano ci vogliono le persone che sono interessate a farlo e su qualche tema di comune interesse. So we go back to the program here, and it's a program presented in English, but most of the content is in Italian. Okay, and that's it's a feature of my programs because I live in Melbourne, Australia, and I can never forget, of course, Italy, the land from which I came. But there are two countries here that are very close to my heart, but the rest of the world is also. I love doing my French lessons, and I'm learning Spanish online. This world history that really has opened up my eyes to the rest of the world, to the nations of the world. And then on reflection, we know that Earth, la Terra, belongs to all of us. So there should really be peace amongst nations in order for us to be able to travel and feel safe. And if something goes wrong, that there's help at end wherever you go. So it's an important aspect of this program. Now, I did start at 3:10 in the afternoon, and I'll finish today at 4:15. So that's it. That's my intro for today, and I welcome anyone who comes on, and I thank anyone else who comes on to hear what I have to say in terms of, l'imparare l'italiano, perché qui siamo ad Insegna, qui si insegna, insegna.com is a place where really teaching goes out into the world, because we've got so many books here, and it's always been a cultural center in a way, because of the work that I do. So that's it. Cominciamo oggi con il pane e il formaggio. Ok? I was checking whether I was live or not. Ah, dear. Never mind. Il pane e il formaggio. Un mattino Pericle, il gatto, si svegliò presto. Che fame, disse, e corse alla dispensa. Il pane e il formaggio non c'erano più. Se vuoi il pane e il formaggio, vieni a cercarli da me, disse Tonino, il furbo topo, e corse via nel buco della sua casa. Ma Pericle non poté seguirlo, perché la casa di Tonino era troppo piccola per un gatto come lui. E noi sappiamo quanto i gatti vogliono bene ai topi, e quando i topi poi vogliono scherzare con i gatti, ma non troppo. Well, that's one. Ce n'è un'altra qua. Il cane povero sogna la notte una scodella come una botte, piena di carne e di pasta asciutta, e così in sogno la mangia tutta. I didn't know that i cani mangiavano la pasta asciutta, but some do, some do. This one here, Teresina, fammi cuocere una gallina. La gallina è troppo cotta, fammi cuocere una pagnotta. Some of the, Italian books for children are really got a lot of fantasy. It's beautiful. This one here, and then we'll finish. L'anitra sciocca. Una notte un'anitra sciocca nuotava nel fiume a caccia di pesci. Vide la luna riflessa nell'acqua, la scambiò per un pesce e cercò di prenderla. Le altre anitre risero di lei. Da quel giorno l'anitra sciocca ebbe paura di sbagliare e non prese più pesci, così morì di fame. Moral of the story. What is the moral of the story here? You must not be afraid of making mistakes. That's important. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Now, this week, I said I would present a novel each week. This one is called Timida Duchessa. And the first person who orders it, that's it. There's only one copy, I promise. You can go online and tap and order this book, Timida Duchessa. Timida Duchessa. You go to the fiction section of Insegna.com by going to shop and you can order it. Now, what's all this novel about? Here we go. Bellissima e timidissima, Emily Carroll, detta la principessa di ghiaccio, non spera neppure di poter attirare l'attenzione del duca di Manning, uno degli scapoli più ricercati di Londra. Il suo sogno, inaspettatamente, si trasforma in realtà, quando Nicholas le chiede di sposarla. Emily accetta anche se il pensiero di diventare duchessa e moglie di un uomo come lui la terrorizza. E quando scopre che non è affatto l'affascinante dandy che sembra, bensì un'anima infelice, tormentata dal ricordo della prima moglie, Emily decide di mettercela tutta per diventare la gentildonna e la compagna che lui ha sempre desiderato. Come bello primo amore, secondo è più bello ancora. And that's what you need here. That's la duchessa, timida duchessa. And it's a good novel. Okay? How many pages? Most novels, they're around what? Yeah, over 300 pages. Okay, so order Timida Duchessa by going to the fiction section of Insegna.com. Next one is this an interesting one because we're going to the Middle Ages again, but this time not to wars or feuds or whatever. We got to a wonderful Michelangelo, Michelangelo, la vendetta di Michelangelo. Michelangelo ha fatto vendetta. It's a lovely story, so listen to it and try to capture as much of the Italian as possible. Before I do that, I want to have a drink. Ok. Papa Paolo II voleva che Michelangelo, celebre pittore, scultore e architetto, dipingesse per lui il Giudizio universale nella Cappella Sistina, dove 30 anni prima aveva dipinto la creazione del mondo ed altre opere gigantesche di una bellezza straordinaria. Michelangelo però si scusava dicendo che aveva altri impegni con diversi principi e duchi italiani. Ma un giorno il Papa fece un'ultima prova per vincere la riluttanza del grande artista. Andò da lui in gran pompa con un seguito di 10 cardinali e gli rinnovò la preghiera. Dopo tante insistenze, Michelangelo cedette e accettò finalmente l'alto onore che gli era conferito. Si mise dunque al lavoro e dedicò al Giudizio universale più di 9 anni della sua vita. Però poco mancò che quella mirabile opera non fosse distrutta per causa di un certo Biagio, cameriere favorito del Papa, il quale la trovò più degna di una taverna che di una cappella papale. E tanto insistette che il pontefice ebbe per un momento il pensiero di farla cancellare. Terrible. Per vendicarsi di Messer Biagio, Michelangelo lo mise fra i dannati in figura di Minos, con le orecchie di asino, avvinghiato ad un serpente. Seccatissimo Messer Biagio andò dal Papa e lo supplicò di fare cancellare almeno quella figura. Ma il Papa, che aveva compreso l'inestimabile valore dell'opera di Michelangelo, gli domandò: «Dove ti ha egli messo?» «All'inferno», rispose subito il povero Biagio. «Male», soggiunse il pontefice, «se ti avesse messo nel purgatorio ti avrei potuto cavare, ma dall'inferno, come tu sai, non si esce». Povero Biagio. You have to watch what you do when you attack somebody like Michelangelo. They're too smart for your own boots, no? So we can admire il Giudizio Universale in Cappella Sistina. Thank you to the Papa Giulio II, who understood exactly what he should not have done, which he didn't. In other words, cancel Michelangelo's work. That would have been terrible. Okay, da lì, from there, we got to, what do I do? Oh, I said that one first. Okay, doesn't matter. We got to Storia della letteratura italiana, and we got to Francesco Petrarca. Now, Francesco Petrarca wrote Il Canzoniere in Italian, but he also wrote many of his works are in Latin. Now, I don't have any of them here. Somebody in Italy might have them. I'm not sure. The second one that last week we did L'Africa, the second big work in Latin that Francesco Petrarca wrote was Il Bucolicum Carmen. Bucolicum Carmen. In other words, about poetry. Consta di 12 egloche composte ad imitazione di Virgilio, ma con intenti allegorici così inviluppati da rendere del tutto indecifrabili se l'autore stesso o qualcuno per lui non ce ne avesse lasciato degli schiarimenti. So he tried to write like the old masters, but he didn't really succeed. However, he left some explanations, and other people have done the same, so we know a little bit more about this. this work. La più pregevole e interessante poesia latina del Petrarca si aduna nelle 67 epistole metriche. They're big works, big volumes, varie di contenuto e di ispirazione. Il poeta vi esprime talvolta con un calore di sincerità e di convinzione che si riscatta dall'intonazione retorica generale. Le vicende della sua vita, del suo pensiero e dei suoi affetti, l'amore per l'Italia, generosamente prediletta dalla natura e gloriosa per l'antica civiltà, ma lacerata dalle guerre, il ritorno nella patria a cui dall'alto del Mont Ginevra egli rivolge le commosse parole di saluto di cui si è fatto cenno, perché così he went to France. La passione invincibile per Laura, la cui immagine lo perseguita dovunque e rende vana ogni reazione morale o rimedio. He fell in love with a young woman who died, Laura. Passione che sceme e si acquieta soltanto col declinare dell'età, lasciandogli nell'animo un senso di pentimento e di vergogna, poiché non la ragione lo ha guarito da questa e da altre tali follie, ma il tempo che tutto doma e trasforma. So he understood that his great love for Laura was in some ways a negative for him. He shouldn't have continued. But then if he didn't have Laura, how could he have written all his poems? There you are. E questi sono, si intende, non tutti gli argomenti della raccolta, ma solo i più degni di menzione. So that's it. So these are these epistole metriche are the ones that are worth mentioning. I don't agree with the way some of these critics talk about some of the great works of the past. You know, sono degni questi. They're all good, really. Now, I need a break. And what does the break consist of? I want to go to Montagne Verdi. Montagne Verdi. And that's a beautiful song by Marcella, who is still going strong, by the way, in Italia. Ma questa canzone qui me la ricordo perché la usavo nell'insegnamento dell'italiano e ancora continuiamo negli anni '80. Quindi si fa strada queste Montagne Verdi. Ok, let's go. Mi ricordo montagne verdi e le corse d'una bambina, con l'amico mio più sincero, un coniglio dal muso nero. Poi un giorno mi prese il treno, l'erba, il prato e quello che era mio scomparivano piano piano e piangendo parlai con Dio. Quante volte ho cercato il sole, quante volte ho mangiato sale. La città aveva 1000 sguardi, io sognavo montagne verdi. Il mio destino è di stare accanto a te, con te vicino, più paura non avrò e un po' bambina tornerò. So that's what Marcella has done. She's gone back to Sicily after migrating to the north, and now that she can, she does that. So let's continue. Mi ricordo montagne verdi quella sera negli occhi tuoi, quando hai detto si è fatto tardi, t'accompagno se tu vuoi. Nella nebbia le tue parole, la tua storia è la mia storia. Poi nel buio senza parlare ho dormito con te sul cuore. Io ti amo, mio grande amore, io ti amo, mio primo amore. Quante volte ho cercato il sole, quante volte ho cercato il sole, la 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 la. So this is living in Milano, you know, the la nebbia, the fog, the winter time. You can't beat Sicily, really. Il mio destino è di stare accanto a te, con te vicino, più paura non avrò, e un po' bambina tornerò. Montagne verdi nei tuoi occhi rivedrò. That's beautiful. That last line is interesting. So that's Montagne Verdi, yeah? From Marcella Bella. Now, I want to talk about Choral Improviso, my big work relating to Italian songs. They are programs of 12 songs divided up in lots of 3. So the first 6 is part 1, second 6, part 2, and you can use those for cultural afternoons, at home, with friends, or even formally as a show. Why not? So these ones here, 1 to 12. Now I've done so far, I'm doing number 20. So I've already done 20 programs of 12 songs each. What does that make it? 20, 10 by 12 is 120. It's 240 songs ready, and they have not been repeated. Maybe a mistake here and there, but I don't think so. Most of them are songs that can be sung. So there's another one after this one, after we continue with our Italian lesson number 64. Programma 64, but series 2, and it's program 4 of series 2. So series 1 to 60, programs 1 to 60, very interesting. And go to blog, and there are, I think, 7 pages. You click on the 7th page, and that will give you program number 1. Okay, now after this we have a bit of fun with words. Writing some sentences. So, where do I? Yes, stay. Accettare. Accettare is a verb, to accept. Accettare. How do you use this verb? I sette nani accettano che Biancaneve viva con loro. Sono d'accordo, dicono di sì. Posso vivere con voi? Asks Biancaneve, and they say sì. So accettare. I sette nani, they are plural. Il nano, but i sette nani, the 7 dwarfs, accettano. So the present tense is of the verb accettare, IRE, is io accetto, tu accetti, lui o lei accetta. In Italy they would say egli accetta as well. Noi accettiamo, voi accettate, loro accettano. So in Italy we use lui, lei for the third person, singular, but in Italy it's also egli and esso. So there's always something to learn in Italian. The next one is acciaio, steel. È un metallo duro che resiste bene agli urti. Si ottiene dal ferro. So steel comes from iron. Acclamare. La folla acclama il principe e la principessa. Tutti applaudono e gridano di gioia. Viva il principe! Lunga vita agli sposi! Evviva! That's good, huh? Accogliere. È il principe in persona che accoglie Cenerentola all'entrata del castello. È lì apposta per riceverla ed è un'accoglienza meravigliosa. So Cenerentola is another one of the big, stories for children. And here she is, il principe is waiting for her. Accomodare. Quando si accomoda un vestito, lo si aggiusta. So, if you want a bit of touch-up, un vestito, lo accomodi. Accomodarsi significa mettersi a proprio agio as well. It's terrible here. Some people are ringing. No, not when I'm doing my lesson. Quando si trova un accomodamento è perché si è raggiunto un accordo tra persone che sono in contrasto. Accompagnare. Aladino accompagna il mago fino alla lanterna magica. Aladino va con il mago. So that's that for today. So we did a few verbs. A couple of them, most of them are IRE verbs, but one of them is a second conjugation verb, that's accogliere, and that's a hard one because doesn't follow the normal patterns. Io accolgo, for example, tu accogli, lui, lei accoglie, noi accogliamo, voi accogliate, loro accolgono. Sì? Io accolgo, tu accogli, lui accoglie. So il principe in persona accoglie accoglie Cenerentola. So that's an interesting one. So that's a good one. That's something that we need to do. Maybe I should do a little bit more. This is 336. Yeah, I think I'll do one more page of that. Yes. Yes. Let's see. The next one. Accontentarsi, to be happy, to be content. But accontentarsi is a reflexive verb, because accontentare is one thing, to make someone else happy, but accontentarsi is in making yourself happy. It's a reflexive verb. And you have to learn how to conjugate reflexive verbs if you want to quicken the pace to the learning of Italian. You have to learn the verbs, how you conjugate verbs. Very important. Most of them are in IRE verbs. So it's not bad. So, dovete accontentarvi di un tozzo di pane, ho soltanto questo da darvi e dovrà bastarvi. Okay, that's a nice sentence. Dovete accontentarvi to, I've only got a piece of bread, but you have to be happy with what I give you, basically. Accordo significa patto, siamo d'accordo, abbiamo fatto un patto, un accordo. We agree with doing something together. Essere d'accordo vuol dire avere la stessa opinione. Quando si va d'accordo si hanno buoni rapporti. And notice, quando si va d'accordo. When one is happy, one meaning you and, one person, a personal meaning. It's there's a particular word for it that's not coming to me right now. Quando si va d'accordo, that si va d'accordo is a special structure. Okay? We'll come back to that some other time. Quando si suona, oh, there's another one here. My God. Uno strumento musicale. Quando si suona uno strumento musicale, si usano gli accordi, che sono gruppi di suoni armonici. Si usano gli accordi. So when you're playing a musical instrument, you need to learn how the various bits work together. Accorgersi, another one of these verbs, there are reflexive verbs. Accorgere, accorgersi, you become aware of. Gli orsi si sono accorti che qualcuno era entrato nella loro casetta. L'hanno visto subito. È stato Piccolo Orso a farlo notare. Ti ricordi che cosa ha detto? Qui c'è Biancaneve, qui c'è Biancaneve e i 7 nani. Accorrere. Quando c'è qualcuno in pericolo, Robin accorre, arriva il più presto possibile. Account, this is an English word. Termine inglese che significa permesso di accesso alla rete di internet. Account. Now let's come into the world, into the Italian. Account. Ma no, for us, an account in English is also, when you're dealing with the supplier and he sends you invoices. So you have an account with that particular company. But in this case here, an account is termine inglese to access the internet. Very interesting. Accovacciato, accovacciato means your position, really, you're down, look it up. But you have to look up accovacciare. Accovacciare. Accumulare. Che cosa fate? Accumuliamo le nocciole per l'inverno. Ne facciamo scorta. And who says that? Who loves the nocciole? The nuts, the hazelnuts. Lo scoiattolo, no? Accusare. Il fante di cuori è accusato di aver rubato le torte. Dicono che il colpevole è lui. Questa accusa è vero? Oh, povero fante di cuori. He just wants to have your heart. How can you accuse him of stealing? Terrible. Aceto, si mette l'aceto nell'insalata per darle un sapore acido e pungente. La vinaigrette è una salsa a base di olio e aceto. La vinaigrette it comes from the French. Acido il limone ha un gusto acido, pizzica un po' e fa un effetto strano in bocca. But, il limone è importante per noi. So that's that. Done and dusted. As my wife used to say. Done and dusted. Okay, the next lot we go into I proverbi. I proverbi. So there are proverbi in Italiano, but these are very clean proverbi because they are proverbi relating to the alphabet. For example, abbaiare, to bark, minacciare o affaticarsi inutilmente. That's when you say that, means that you wanted to say, io abbaio alla luna. Abbaiare alla luna significa minacciare o affaticarsi inutilmente. So you want to threaten somebody or you affaticarsi. It's not worth doing, really. Not worth the effort. So affaticarsi inutilmente. Abbaiare alla luna. Abbaia coi cani e ulula coi lupi. Abbaia coi cani e ulula coi lupi. It's a good one. Sii savio fra i savi e pazzo fra i pazzi. So don't be savio tra i pazzi and don't be pazzo tra i savi. That doesn't go very well. You have to go with whatever the group wants you to be. Significa sapersi adattare alle varie circostanze. So, someone migrates somewhere else, that's what happens. They have to adapt. So this abbaia coi cani e ulula coi lupi. Next one. Can che abbaia non morde. Cane che abbaia poco morde. So if a cane che abbaia sempre, he won't bite you. But one that is abbaia poco, watch it, watch that dog. So il proverbio indica che chi proferisce minacce solitamente non giunge mai ai fatti. So if somebody threatens you, that means they don't want to fight you, really. Analogia con il detto, tra il dire e il fare c'è di mezzo il mare. So, can che abbaia non morde, cane che abbaia poco morde. In latino era canis timidus vehementius latrat quam mordet. Well, who said that? Curgio Rufo, I don't know him at all. My head. And in English, barking dogs don't bite. When the dogs bark a lot, they don't bite. Ok, cane che morde non abbaia. Cane, you look at from the other way, cane che morde, i fatti non sempre sono preannunciati da un segnale. Sometimes things happen without any warning. I cani prima di mordere abbaiano. Before a dog attacks you, they do bark. They bark. Rob Rowe, watching. Fantastic. Thank you. So these are Italian proverbs. Cane che abbaia non fa caccia, chi troppo abbaia riempie il corpo di vento. That's a good one. Cane che abbaia non fa caccia, so a barking dog doesn't go hunting. Chi troppo abbaia, if a dog barks too much, he fills his body with wind. I don't know. These are proverbs. Cane da pagliaio abbaia e stai lontano, e sta lontano. Chi grida soltanto non ottiene il risultato sperato. Cane da pagliaio abbaia e sta lontano. So if somebody screams from far away, they are not dangerous. There's not a danger there, because as long as they don't come close to you, you're free, you're okay. Cane vecchio non abbaia in vano. So an old dog doesn't bark in vain. So l'uomo diventa savio con l'età e l'esperienza. So men and women become wise with age and experience. You're going to have two things, age and experience, before you become wise. So that's what everyone else thinks. Quando il cane vecchio abbaia, non sa quello che fa. When an old dog barks, he doesn't know what he's doing. Proverbio che contraddice il precedente. So these two proverbs contradict each other. La vecchiaia alle volte rende più sfuggevole la memoria, because we forget the use of our memory in old age. Sometimes you don't remember. What did I say? I can't remember. I can't remember myself. What did I eat yesterday? I can't remember. Cane abbaia e bue pasce. So the dog barks and the ox eats grass. Chi grida invano non disturba la persona che sa pensare. Oh, that's good. The interpretation of that one is, if you shout in vain, well, if you just shout, it will not disturb someone who's thinking. But I always believe that noise doesn't affect my thinking. So when there's a lot of noise, my thinking is still the same. Ok? I cani abbaiano a quelli che non conoscono. Dogs bark to people they don't know. L'abbaiare del cane fa scoprire il ladro. So when a dog barks, you discover the thief. I cani abbaiano allo stesso modo di come sono nutriti. Dogs bark in the same way as they are fed. So if they're not fed very well, you won't get a big bark. You get, you get a lower sounding bark. I cani abbaiano allo stesso modo di come sono nutriti. L'educazione determina il comportamento. So in other words, educating a dog depends on the way they behave, depends by the education they've received from the owner. L'abbaiare dei cani non arriva fino al cielo. So dogs' barks don't reach the sky. Lutero utilizzava molto spesso questo proverbio contro i suoi avversari. Assomiglia all'altro proverbio che dice raglio d'asino non arrivò mai in cielo. So this one here says a dog barking, a donkey braying, their sounds don't reach the sky. In other words, God ignores them. In latino was celos non penetrat ratio quam carnis orat. So that's that. That's not bad. I like this because it's interesting for me too. It's 3:51, so, and I'm supposed to finish at 4:15. I've still got another 20 minutes. Good. Now we'll do another song. We've done La Vendetta. We'll do a bit more culture today with the time that's left. Now this one here is called Le Tagliatelle. And it's one of the readers that I have. If you're learning Italian, these readers here are fantastic. Okay, they're here. And if you come to me, well, and you want to learn Italian, now is the time, because you can enroll in one of my classes that I will be holding at Tom's in Brunswick, my old place, which has been totally done up by someone else, and I'm just going to go there and be part of that wonderful community. So, but before I can go there, I need you to enroll in one of my classes. So come to see me, contact me if you're learning, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Le tagliatelle. Ehi, Pulcinella, vieni un po' qua. La pasta asciutta come si fa? Ah, tu vuoi fare le tagliatelle? Ascolta bene, che sono belle. Ti insegno io. Mettiti qui. Le tagliatelle si fanno così. Per primo, prendi uova e farina e mescoli bene in una terrina. Poi sulla tavola metti la pasta e lavori bene fino a che basta. So after you've mixed it, etc., then, but it doesn't say how many eggs or whatever. I'm assuming half a dozen eggs with, say, a kilo of dough. You can check it out. Quando il pastone è liscio e bello, allora prendi il mattarello e piano piano, di buona voglia, attentamente stendi la sfoglia. So once you've done it all, worked it, etc., and then you make it you make it flat on a table, and then of course you have to cut it up. Quasi finito, almost finished. Col coltellino, with a little knife, le taglia a strisce, you make little strips, ma fino, very light. Poi le cucini in acqua bollente, mi raccomando che siano al dente, so as soon as you put them in, if the pasta fatta di casa, you almost have to take it out, because the pasta can't stay long there. it's it's a quick dish, this one. Eccole pronte, guarda che belle, ora sai fare le tagliatelle. Well, that's a good activity for children as well. Teach them how to make tagliatelle. Tagliatelle. E poi fai un buon sugo, le mettete e vi divertite mangiando. Very good. That's a good one. Now, the next song that I'm going to do, this is a Celentano song. This is Il ragazzo della via Gluck. And Adriano Celentano is famous. Tom Padula, will you make it? I don't know. I think I've done it before, but let me see if I can remember. But if you want to, you can get your phone and you look up for the lyrics, you look up Google, and then for the actual song by Celentano, you look up Celentano, il ragazzo della via Gluck. Ok? Questa è la storia di uno di noi, anche lui nato per caso in via Gluck, in una casa fuori città, gente tranquilla che lavorava, là dove c'era l'erba, ora c'è una città, e quella casa in mezzo al verde, ormai dove sarà? Questo ragazzo della via Gluck si divertiva a giocare con me, ma un giorno disse vado in città, e lo diceva mentre piangeva. Io gli domando, amico, non sei contento? Vai finalmente a stare in città? Là troverai le cose che non hai avuto qui. Potrai lavarti in casa senza andar giù nel cortile. Mio caro amico, disse, qui sono nato in questa strada, ora lascio il mio cuore, ma come fai a non capire? È una fortuna per voi che restate a piedi nudi a giocare nei prati, mentre là in centro io respiro il cemento. Me verrà un giorno che ritornerò ancora qui e sentirò l'amico treno che fischia così. A train, very good. Passano gli anni, ma 8 sono lunghi. Quel ragazzo ne ha fatto di strada. Ma non si scorda la sua prima casa, ora coi soldi lui può comprarla. Torna e non trova gli amici che aveva, solo case su case, catrame e cemento. Là dove c'era l'erba, ora c'è una città, e quella casa in mezzo al verde ormai dove sarà? Non so, perché continuano a costruire le case e non lasciano l'erba, non lasciano l'erba. E no, se andiamo avanti così, chissà come si farà, chissà come si farà. If you keep on building all these houses, and you take over the green, leave some green, please. Il ragazzo della via Gluck. This was early 70s, when at that time I wrote a poem called Pollution, l'inquinamento, which was a beautiful poem, which was published again in La Piazza magazine at the University of Melbourne. And I was worried about about the way, you know, things were going in terms of l'inquinamento. I called it l'inquinazione. Professor McCormick said, no, it's l'inquinamento, Tom. Well, but, you know, if you look up my poetry somewhere, it's there somewhere. I might have to read it to you. Maybe that's a good idea, to start bringing my poetry in here. Okay, that was Il ragazzo della via Gluck. Now, we have, how much we have here? It's 4 o'clock. We've got a quarter of an hour, and I'm going to dedicate this one here to Italy. But, I don't know. I think I can do a double take here because we can do the land of its people, population, and then Rome unifies Italy. Wow. There's a lot, you know, some of these books are just magnificent, honestly. Now, last time, I'll continue from where I left off. In the peninsula, separate and geologically distinct from the Apennines, are the short but high range of the Alpi Apuane. In the northwest, famous for marble quarries, volcanic mountains and hills along the Tyrrhenian coast. So we're talking about Tuscany here, because that's where the marble quarries are. Volcanic mountains and hills along the Tyrrhenian coast, among them Vesuvius, south of Naples, still an active and at times fiery volcano. So we know about Vesuvius. Now, take note of what I'm going to say now. Mounts Gargano and Conero along the Adriatic coast, that's on the other side, also there. Rivers are numerous, but most have little water, and many dry up completely in the summer months, because it's hot down the south. So the summer months being June, July, August, September. I've given you 4 months, you know, normally 3, the summer, but, you know, the end of spring, beginning of autumn, still hot. Now, during floods, because when then it starts to rain, and there has been dry weather before that, the water just, you know, comes in a torrential way. So rivers are numerous, but most have little water and many dry up completely in the summer months. Dangerous floods like the ones we've seen recently and going back in Florence, and there have always been some floods in that central part of Italy, occur during the rainy season and when mountain snows melt. So it can be when it's raining a lot, or when there's been so much snow that then it, you know, the snow melts and water comes down in nei torrenti, they call them, the little rivers. Lakes are fewer than in ancient times. I wonder why. The largest of all was Lake Fucino, once upon a time, 50 miles east of Rome in the center of mountainous Marsica, emptied of its water. I don't know when this happened, but in the 19th century. 19th century, that's in the 1800s. So presumably one of the first jobs of the new, of unified Italy. Could be. Emptied of its water in the 19th century by a tunnel dug through the mountains, Fucino has been transformed into fertile farmlands. 17 miles north of Rome is the shallow and beautiful Lake Trasimeno. Lake Trasimeno, very nice. Nearer Rome are 5 other lakes of various sizes, which occupy the craters of extinct volcanoes and are famous for the beauty of their settings. The minuscule lake of Averno, near Naples, was in pre-Christian times credited with being the entrance to hell. That's an interesting one. Good. Okay, let's have a look now. Mountains and hills divided the peninsula into separate and varied districts where in the past communities tended to develop along divergent lines. Although people move and mingle today as never before, customs and dialects will still vary greatly from one district to another, as does the appearance of cities and villages. In the course of centuries, some districts changed their names. Samnium is today's Molise. Lucania is Basilicata. That's where I come from. Other districts lost at least part of their individuality, merging with larger ones. But Latium, but their names still remain. Sabina, which is now part of Latium, Lazio. Piceno, part of the Marche. Irpinia, part of Campania. The boundaries of all the districts have shifted somewhat. Apulia was once only a part of today's Puglia. Tuscany is smaller than it was 1,000 years ago. The result of the age-long historical process has been the division of the peninsula into 20 districts known as regions, each with its distinctive way of life. So Italy has 20 regions. And, you know, you start Sardinia, Sicilia, Calabria, Puglia, Campania, Basilicata, Molise, Abruzzo, Lazio, Toscana, Umbria, Marche, Emilia-Romagna, Veneto, Friuli-Venezia Giulia, Lombardia, Piemonte, Liguria. I think I've done them all. 20. Valle d'Aosta, I forgot. Right up north near the Switzerland, near the Monte Bianco, no? So, how are we going for time? We've got a bit more. You know, sometimes I've neglected, you know, talking about the various people, various famous Italians. Now, I've spoken about Dante a lot in my presentations, and I'm doing Petrarca as well. But, you know, I'm sort of fishing now for what can be talked about. Rome seems to be the one that's really not Rome as such, but Rome, the city, the Roman Empire. They were those Romans of the past. That they created a unified Italy, and also conquered all the lands around them. But then, because of, you know, the historical process, Italy became Christian. Because I don't think that Italy would have been split up for 1,500 years if the Roman Empire had continued under the old religion. The old religion was cruel. They, you know, they sort of an eye for an eye, but they you know, the gods, people were loved power, overcoming other people close by, making them Romans too. In other words, governing them so that Rome would, you know, the people in the cities could live better. It's a different take. Once Rome became, Roman Empire became Christian under Constantine, a new philosophy comes into the equation. A philosophy that says respect your fellow men. Love them as you love thyself. In other words, don't be so cruel. Do govern with wisdom, but the army itself was in constant movement around Europe until it actually had conquered most of it, including the parts of the Middle East and Northern Africa. So the Roman Empire also built aqueducts, provided, very important facilities for the people as a whole. But not all the time. I mean, this was in the main part of the city. But the poor and the slaves, they didn't live very well. But in times of peace, slaves were used like we do, they were the workers sort of thing, except they didn't have any political rights. But under a cruel leader, a cruel dictator, they suffered as well. And, wars were always continually being fought. Come to my world history class, and I tackle the five continents or seven. So 5 continents plus the northern lands and Antarctica. That makes it 7 continents. But, the history of a lot of the people in Europe, the various nations of Europe, they all sort of go back to Roman times. So Rome is a big influence. Rome and Italy. Italians are conscious that ancient Rome and its civilization are theirs. This is not just because the city of Rome is in Italy and has been identified with Italy for centuries, but because the 1200 years of legendary and documented ancient Roman history, down to the disintegration of the Roman state in Italy in the 5th century, are still alive in the concepts, values and institutions that originated them, and however revised and reinterpreted, have never entirely disappeared. So we still owe a lot to Rome over time. A lot of what Rome left us is still valued today. Often the past becomes completely divorced from the present, even if the physical continuity of our people is maintained. There's a chasm between pharaonic and Arabized Egypt, between the Maya of the 15th century and their descendants today. There's none between Roman and post-Roman Italy. The grandiose ruins of Angkor and Borobudur, of Babylon and Baalbek, have for centuries just been historical curiosities for the peoples of Southeastern Asia and the Middle East. But the abundant material evidence of the Roman past all over Italy, not only in ruins but also in buildings, bridges and roads still in use, has never been a more historical curiosity for Italians. The Italians have been fortunate to have had the Romans. The Romans built so many structures that are still there today. So whereas ancient historical places are sort of part of ancient history, got nothing to do with the now. But in Egypt, that's not a good comment about Egypt, because they got the pyramids. They got a lot of, but it's called antiquities. There is a disconnection. Maybe this author, he sees it as a disconnection. I don't see it as such, but it's not as strong implanted in the countries where those ancient civilizations flourished. Okay, that's probably a good way to finish off today, because we're coming to 4:15 and I'm about ready to go. Thank you very much for whoever came on today, and of course people who are coming on to listen to what I have to say each week. And there are quite a few people coming on to follow my work, because now I've come back and I've actually added Spanish as well and French. I've separated them, so there's one more language there. And then, but as I finish some of this series, I will start new ones. So I look forward now to finish off La Divina Commedia, another 27 chapters. Can't you? Okay, until then, this is Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. Don't forget, you can also access tompadula.blogspot.com. Go to it and go to lessons. There's all my other work there as well. Okay, until next time, next week I won't be here to do this. I'm taking a break, and I'll be back the week after next. Okay. Ciao. Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers.